Flipside Records is, and WLS-AM 890 listeners, you can call in and you can tell Nick what it was like to camp out on a sidewalk for concert tickets before you were in a queue. Before we started using some English word to be in line for tickets here in America, we would stand actually in line, not in a queue, outside, freezing temperatures. My Flipside Records was in Wheaton. And I remember camping out for Rush tickets as a kid at the Flipside in Wheaton as a I think I might have been in 8th grade, and our folks let us do this. And you had to physically go there, pay with cash, and you would get the tickets for a Flipside Presents show. Well, there's a new book that harkens back to Flipside Records and to the events that they put on, and we are going to talk with one of the owners of Flipside coming up this morning at 8:35, Carl Rosenbaum. He's a co-author of the Flipside, Where Chicago Rocked.
Well, and so, but that, of course, I mean, that was before the Live Nations and the Ticketmasters of the world, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, okay.
Yeah, they put on their own events, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, they were. I think they were not only a record store chain, whatever, but yes, promoter.
You know, it's funny because, and you know, new albums have come out. You went to everybody. Trust me when I tell you, there's a portion of this audience that knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's a shame that you're so young that you didn't have the ability to do this.
No, I mean. No, this is when I wish my mom was still around, because I know for a fact she would have. You know,
sure.
She grew up in Glenview, so I wonder if there would have been one around that area.
Could you imagine?
My dad didn't. I don't think my dad ever went to concerts.
Oh hell, man! We slept out for Alabama tickets.
Did you?
Alabama, Charlie Daniels, and Johnny Lee, one of the first concerts ever over at the Allstate Arena. And I remember being at that show up in the rafters. I mean, I'm talking way up in the rafters, thinking it was the greatest night of my life, until I learned that one day I was going to be in a business where I'd get to know all these guys. And it was fun.
Yeah.
Never saw that one coming. But could you imagine today, parents letting their kids, all these helicopter moms and dads, hey, Mom, Dad, we're going to go sleep out on a sidewalk for concert tickets. Yeah. We're going to go sleep out on the side. You see, that's something that Taylor Swift fan is never going to be able to enjoy. You just sit there and you wait in the online ticket room as to whether or not you're going to get a ticket or not. So coming up this morning at the 8:35, Carl Rosenbaum will talk to us about what it was like to be alive at that portion of time in Chicago where you could not only have a really, really fascinating and eclectic record store, but you also put together major events. Our text line 312-591-80-900 from a 917 texter. Hey, Ray, it's Mr. Gotti, Mr. Italy. Please tell Nick I say hello. This guy texts us every morning and says hello to you. What he says to me goes, hey, but I know that having an Italian girl, I bet you never have to clean the house. Laugh out loud. You know what?
Good morning, Mr. Gotti.
Yeah, no, he was worried about, Tom was worried about some of the comments I made when I was talking about the Alfa Romeo. These are my people. I'm a made man in this town. I can't get arrested, and I've tried.
If you hear the second half of Layla, run.
Okay. Yeah, just make sure you sit in the back of the car, right? Don't sit in the passenger seat. I got it. You know what? You're stereotyping. You have to stop that.
Over there.
I know.
Thomas.
Just everybody's in the weeds this morning. You know what you all need? A nice long vacation. Let's talk about the Flipside. The new book is out. The book is called The Flipside, Where Chicago Rocked. Going to take you down memory lane here next on WLS-AM 890.
Will not be allowed to run for...
I know for a fact there's a portion of this audience that knows what the flip side is and knows what the flip side was. I can remember, and I'm actually quoted in the book, Nick, talking about camping out for tickets to see Rush, the band, not Rush Limbaugh. That came later on. I believe Rush at that time was at the amphitheater. I can't rightly remember, but The Flip Side. It's a new book called The Flip Side, Where Chicago Rocked, written by Carl Rosenbaum and Larry Rosenbaum. They are the co-owners of the Flipside, and the stories to tell here are absolutely amazing. That is our Carl. Carl, clear that throat out and get ready to go, okay?
You know, it's early out here in Arizona.
You know it is, and that dry heat will get you. Carl,
Yeah, right.
Take me through it. If I'm not mistaken, what you guys? You started this in '69, if I'm not mistaken. Went all the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, we started in November of '68.
Okay, November of '68, and then you took it right up until 1995. The stories are immeasurable. Right. Is there one story where you guys as brothers knew, okay, this was a crazy idea that we came up with. We're going to have a record store. We're going to put on concerts, some of the biggest concerts Chicago's ever seen, legendary stuff. At what point did you guys know that you were onto something?
I think about a year after we opened our first store, which was on Foster Avenue in Chicago. We were struggling with the store, and they were doing concerts over at the Aragon Ballroom. And I went over there one day, introduced myself, met Mike Siegel, who was running the place for Michael Butler, who had produced Hair. He was the guy doing the concerts then. And I made a deal with him to put a little record stand up on the second floor in the actual ballroom on Friday and Saturday nights when they were doing concerts. And that was pretty much when we started to see that there was a whole lot more to this business than running one retail store.
How many retail stores did you have at the height of all of this?
I think we had like 23 open, but I believe we went through about 39 locations over the 25 years.
And not to get too far into the woods, but in the nuts and bolts of this, you and your brother did the build out on all these stores. You figured out what was going where. And if I'm told, and you can tell me if this is correct or not, that if you guys made a mistake when you were putting up shelving or if there was a hole in the wall, instead of bringing in the drywall guys, you just cover it with a rock and roll poster.
The posters, they served a lot of good purposes for us. My brother did most of the work in building the stores along with a guy named Don Kunz. And he built everything out. He started building stuff in the garage at home and schlepping it over there and setting up the stores. But yeah, we learned pretty quickly how to cover up for mistakes.
This is Carl Rosenbaum. He is a co-author of the Flip Side book, Where Chicago Rocked. There's going to be a release party. I'll tell you about that coming up here in just a second or two. But take me back to 1977. Man, I was just a baby at the time, and you guys are getting ready to do the Super Bowl of Rock, the shows at Soldier Field, which really changed the way that concerts were done.
Well, it was new. A lot of stuff that we did in the concert business was first-time things. I guess everything has to start somewhere. We put the concerts together at Soldier Field. We did 4 that summer, and we learned as we went along. I remember standing out the day of Emerson, Lake and Palmer and expecting 80,000 people, and it looked like rain. And I was standing on the field along with some Park District employees, and I was worried about the rain, and they said, "Don't worry about the rain. The mayor is not going to allow it to rain." And sure enough, the sun came out, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer went on, and the following 3 shows all happened. They were big events, a huge amount of security and setup. But like everything else back in those days, you learned as you went along.
I was curious, what was the relation? Did you guys have a relationship with any of the radio stations back then as far as promoting?
Oh, yeah, Well, Jeff Schwartz was our main guy. He was at the Loop, and we did a whole lot of promotions with Jeff. And actually, he drove a lot of our promotions, and he helped inspire some willingness to take chances. Like when we did the Who at the International Amphitheater, and we hooked it into 8 movie theaters in Chicago for a live stream. And I believe it was the first time that was ever done.
And Schwartz was also
successful.
Schwartz was also the Flip Side guy, wasn't he? Wasn't he the caricature?
Yeah, he was our Mr. Cheap.
Yeah. And Jeff Schwartz, listeners of Chicago radio will understand that Jeff Schwartz was the mastermind behind Disco Demolition. So It all comes together. But you had to work with more than just Schwartzy at the Loop, right? Were you working with MET and some of those guys as well?
We worked with MET. We worked with every one of the rock and roll stations in Chicago.
Okay, so you guys become big. You've got all these locations. You're putting on these major events. Tell me where the mafia gets involved in all of this.
Well, I was on vacation actually, and my brother left our store on Foster Avenue, got in his car, and all of a sudden there was a gentleman standing next to him with a gun, And that started our introduction to the guys in the mob. It went on for about a year. They wanted to be involved in our concert business, and at that time it was pretty new in our concert business, and they wanted to be partners. I came back, and we ended up having some meetings at some delicatessens in Skokie, Illinois, with them on Sundays, and they threatened their children. We had sent our wives out of the country for a while, and they would call me on a Monday and say, your kid was riding a bike on Sunday, and we could have grabbed your kid. Well, that went on for about a year, and we had our meetings, and at the very end, to make a long story short, the FBI got involved, and the day that they threatened to do us bodily harm, we were upstairs in our office, which was above our store on Foster Avenue, and they rang us from downstairs and said, there's two gentlemen here that want to come up. And we said, no, we'll go down. So we go down the stairs. I go down the stairs, and my brother's standing at the top of the stairs with a gun. I go down. It took me 50 years to figure out if he would have shot that gun, I would have been the guy getting shot. I opened the door, and there's a couple of guys standing there with big gold badges. They were FBI agents.
Yeah.
And they came upstairs. They showed us pictures. They had pictures from all these meetings, and they were pretty much on top of it. And quite frankly, shortly after that, it ended, and the people who were involved actually were found dead a month or two later.
What,
and it was a pretty scary time.
You run shows like that.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have their hands in the till. You guys are lucky you skated that. It's our friend Carl Rosenbaum. He's the co-author of The Flip Side, Where Chicago Rocked. You hit it right at the time. When you look at today's concert market and the way everything goes, does it leave a tinge of sadness in you, or are you do you just understand that everything has a time and a place?
Well, everything does have a time and a place, but it has made us very sad. We talk about it a lot. We talk about the fact that the music is different, and a lot of people still listening to the music from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
The bands today don't seem to be able to write the kind of songs they used to write and sing. They all had meaning. They all played their own instruments. I think that in the last 20, 25 years, music has changed a lot. As far as the concert business goes, I think the prices are pretty outrageous, and I really miss those old days when we were selling concert tickets for $350, $450, and $550.
Yeah.
And you look at the prices today, it does make you sad.
And just the experience to be able to, camp out at locations to try to get in the, first 20 rows or whatever it was, and
Sure.
you'd meet people from everywhere, and you'd become friends with people that you met waiting in line outside of a Flip Side at 3 a.m, no matter what store you were at. It's just it's good times. It's great memories. And what would you say if you had to look back? What was the show, the number one show? And I know you guys did a lot of big ones, and it's probably an unfair question to ask, but what was the show that was really the coup de grace for you?
I think the Emerson, Lake and Palmer at Soldier Field.
Huge.
I remember that after all that work and all the people were in and the show started, they went into fanfare for the common man. And I was sitting on the edge of the stage just as the sun was setting, right there on Lake Michigan in June, and it was so beautiful and so perfect. When I closed my eyes, I could still feel like I was there. And I said that one moment will last the rest of my life. And that's even more important than all the battles we had in the old days when security was fighting the crowd and the crowd was trying to get on the stage. And the time I hid under the stage with Alvin Lee when the crowd at the amphitheater was throwing chairs, that moment at Soldier Field remains the strongest in my mind.
And then wasn't it? What? Let me think here. Wasn't it? Didn't old man Wirtz out of the old big barn on Madison? Was it a Who concert where he said he's getting free tickets?
It was the Rolling Stones.
Oh.
And, I was walking through the hall about an hour and a half before the show was starting with the manager, and we saw all these card shares set up along the rails.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a few hundred of them. And we went down to the box office and we asked what they were because they weren't on a manifest. And he said, those are Mr. Wirtz's seats. And so Derek Sutton, who was the manager of the Stones then, said, we can't have that. It has to be on a manifest. We have to get paid. Well, they called Arthur Wirtz down, the father. He came down and he asked us what the problem was. We told him. He said, it's not a problem. If you don't like it, get out of here.
you can leave.
The show went on, and he had his seats, and yeah.
Oh gosh, what a great visit, man! It's cool to hear the stories of it certainly shaped my life, and the rest of the guys in this room are too young, and shame on them for being born at the wrong time. But Carl Rosenbaum, co-author of the Flip Side Where Chicago Rocked launch party, going on December 7th. At the Garibaldi's in Hoffman Estates. That's going to go on from noon to 3. We'll put all that up at our social media. I hope you guys sell a ton of books because you shaped a lot of lives. And my sister just texted me and says she wants her $5 back from the REO Speedwagon concert she never made it into because she drank too much Boone's Farm.
There you go.
Carl, I appreciate you, man. Good luck with the book. It was great to talk to you. Good stuff right there. Yeah, you got Wirt shaking you down. You got the FBI working for you. You got the Chicago outfit going. We're going to need a piece of this. Pure Chicago stuff right there. The Flip Side book, it's called The Flip Side Where Chicago Rocked. Our friend at Eckhart Press, Rick Camper, putting that thing together.
So I guess I didn't experience what you guys did, right? Camping out for the tickets at the record store. However, I miss going into a physical store, Sam Goody or Best Buy or whatever, and going to be able to buy a new album that came out.
Yeah.
Now it's like you got to go online, you got to download it, or maybe you can buy the album online, but that's part of what I miss, flipping through the different,
no more midnight releases for anything.
I know that you at times, usually on a Friday night or Saturday night late, will text me a picture of a Waylon Jennings album cover, a Schlitz can, and a record player. All right, we're late for traffic. Let's get this taken.